Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you first give me an indication of the instrument's condition? Ra. I am Ra. It is as previously stated. Questioner. It is my opinion that the best way for the instrument to improve her condition is through periods of meditation followed by periods of contemplation with respect to the condition and its improvement. Could you tell me if I am correct and expand on this? Ra. I am Ra. Meditation and contemplation are never untoward activities. However, this activity will in all probability, in our opinion, not significantly alter the predispositions of this instrument which cause the fundamental distortions which we, as well as you, have found disconcerting. Questioner. Can you tell me the best approach for altering, to a more acceptable condition, the distortions that the instrument is experiencing? Ra. I am Ra. There is some small amount of work which the instrument may do concerning its pre-incarnative decisions regarding service to the infinite creator in this experience. However, the decision to open without reservation to the offering of self when service is perceived is such a fundamental choice that it is not open to significant alteration, nor would we wish to interfere with the balancing process which is taking place with this particular entity. The wisdom and compassion being so balanced by this recapitulation of fourth density is helpful to this particular mind-body-spirit complex. It is not an entity much given to quibbling with the purity with which it carries out that which it feels it is best to do. We may say this due to the instrument's knowledge of itself which is clear upon this point. However, this very discussion may give rise to a slightly less fully unstopped dedication to service in anyone working so that the service may be continued over a greater period of your space-time. Questioner. You are saying, then, that the physical distortions that the instrument experienced are part of a balancing process. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is incorrect. The physical distortions are a result of the instrument's not accepting fully the limitations placed prior to incarnation upon the activities of the entity once it had begun the working. The distortions caused by this working, which are inevitable given the plan chosen by this entity, are limitation, and, to a degree consonant, with the amount of vital and physical energy expended, weariness, due to that which is the equivalent in this instrument of many, many hours of harsh physical labor. This is why we suggested the instrument's thoughts dwelling upon the possibility of its suggesting to its higher self the possibility of some slight reservation of energy at a working. This instrument at this time is quite open until all resources are quite exhausted. This is well if desired. However, it will, shall we say, shorten the number of workings in what you may call the long run. Questioner. Will spreading the workings out over greater intervals of time so that we have more time between workings help? Ra. I am Ra. This you have already done. It is not helpful to your group to become unbalanced by concern for one portion of the work above another. If this instrument is, in your judgment, capable, and if the support group is functioning well, if all is harmonious, and if the questions to be asked have been considered well, the working is well begun. To overly stress the condition of the instrument is as deleterious to the efficiency of this contact as the antithetical behavior was in your past. Questioner. Aside from the workings, I am concerned about the physical distortions of the instrument in the area of hands and arms. Is there a, shall we say, mental exercise, or something else that the instrument could work on to help to alleviate the extreme problems she has at this time with her hands, etc.? Ra. I am Ra. Yes. Questioner. Would this be an exercise of meditation and contemplation upon the alleviation of these problems? Ra. I am Ra. No. Questioner. What would she do then in order to alleviate these problems? Ra. I am Ra. As we have said, this instrument, feeling that it lacked compassion to balance wisdom, chose an incarnative experience, whereby it was of necessity placed in situations of accepting self, in the absence of other self's acceptance, and the acceptance of other self without expecting a return or energy transfer. This is not an easy program for an incarnation, but was deemed proper by this entity. This entity therefore must needs meditate, and consciously, moment by moment, accept the self in its limitations which have been placed for the very purpose of bringing this entity to the precise tuning we are using. Further, having learned to radiate acceptance and love without expecting return, this entity now must balance this by learning to accept the gifts of love and acceptance of others which this instrument feels some discomfort in accepting. These two balancing workings will aid this entity in the release from the distortion called pain. The limitations are, to a great extent, fixed. Questioner. Is the fact that the instrument already was consciously aware of this the reason that the first distortion was not in force in making it impossible for you to communicate this to us? Ra. I am Ra. This is not only correct for this entity which has been consciously aware of these learned teachings for some of your years, but also true of each of the support group. The possibility of some of this information being offered was not there until this session. Questioner. Thank you. When you spoke in the last session of energizing shocks coming from the top of the pyramid, did you mean that these came at intervals rather than steadily? Ra. I am Ra. These energizing shocks come at discrete intervals, but come very, very close together in a properly functioning pyramid shape. In one whose dimensions have gone awry, the energy will not be released with regularity, or in quanta, as you may perhaps better understand our meaning. Questioner. The next statement that I make may or may not be enlightening to me in my investigation of the pyramid energy, but it has occurred to me that the so-called defect in the so-called Bermuda Triangle is possibly due to the pyramid beneath the water, which releases this third spiral at discrete and varying intervals, and when other entities or craft are in the vicinity of this, it creates a situation where they change space-time continuum in some way. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. Yes. Questioner. Then this third spiral has an energizing effect that, if strong enough, will actually change the space/time continuum. Is there a use or value to this type of change? Ra. I am Ra. In the hands of one of fifth density or above, this particular energy may be tapped in order to communicate information, love, or light across what you would consider vast distances, but which with this energy may be considered trans-dimensional leaps. Also, there is the possibility of travel using this formation of energy. Questioner. Would this travel be the instantaneous type, having to do with not the slingshot effect, but the effect used primarily by sixth density entities, or is it the slingshot effect that you are talking about? Ra. I am Ra. The former effect is that of which we speak. You may note that as one learns the, shall we say, understandings or disciplines of the personality, each of these configurations of prana is available to the entity without the aid of this shape. One may view the pyramid at Giza as metaphysical trading wheels. Questioner. Then is the large underwater pyramid off the Florida coast one of the balancing pyramids that Ra constructed, or some other social memory complex, and if so, which one? Ra. I am Ra. That pyramid of which you speak was one whose construction was aided by sixth density entities of a social memory complex working with Atlanteans prior to our working with the, as you call them, Egyptians. Questioner. You mentioned working with one other group other than the Egyptians. Who were they? Ra. I am Ra. These entities were those of South America. We divided our forces to work within these two cultures. Questioner. The pyramid shape then, as I understand it, was deemed by your social memory complex at that time to be of paramount importance in the, as, shall I say, a physical training aid for spiritual development. At this particular time in the evolution of our planet, it seems that you place little or no emphasis on this shape. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. It is our honor/duty to attempt to remove the distortions that the use of this shape has caused in the thinking of your peoples and in the activities of some of your entities. We do not deny that such shapes are efficacious, nor do we withhold the general gist of this efficacy. However, we wish to offer our understanding, limited though it is, that contrary to our naive beliefs many thousands of your years ago, the optimum shape for initiation does not exist. Let us expand upon this point. When we were aided by sixth density entities during our own third density experiences, we, being less bellicose in the extreme, found this teaching to be of help. In our naivete in third density, we had not developed the interrelationships of your barter or money system and power. We were, in fact, a more philosophical third density planet than your own, and our choices of polarity were much more centered about the, shall we say, understanding of sexual energy transfers and the appropriate relationships between self and other self. We spent a much larger portion of our space/time working with the unmanifested being. In this less complex atmosphere, it was quite instructive to have this learn/teaching device, and we benefited without the distortions we found occurring among your peoples. We have recorded these differences meticulously in the great record of creation, that such naivete shall not be necessary again. At this space/time we may best serve you, we believe, by stating that the pyramid for meditation along with other rounded and arched or pointed circular shapes is of help to you. However, it is our observation that due to the complexity of influences upon the unmanifested being at the space/time nexus among your planetary peoples, it is best that the progress of the mind/body/spirit complex take place without, as you call them, training aids, because when using a training aid, an entity then takes upon itself the law of responsibility for the quickened or increased rate of learn/teaching. If this greater understanding, if we may use this misnomer, is not put into practice in the moment-by-moment experience of the entity, then the usefulness of the training aid becomes negative. Questioner. Thank you. I don't know if this question will result in any usable direction, but I think I must ask it. What was the Ark of the Covenant, and what was its use? Ra. I am Ra. The Ark of the Covenant was that place wherein those things most holy, according to the understanding of the one called Moshe, was placed. The article placed therein has been called by your peoples two tablets called the Ten Commandments. There were not two tablets. There was one writing and scroll. This was placed along with the most carefully written accounts by various entities of their beliefs concerning the creation by the one Creator. This ark was designed to constitute the place where from the priests, as you call those distorted towards the desire to serve their brothers, could draw their power and feel the presence of the one Creator. However, it is to be noted that this entire arrangement was designed, not by the one known to the Confederation as Yahweh, but rather was designed by negative entities preferring this method of creating an elite called the Sons of Levi.